Hi, I am Jenny and welcome to FREEJOO, the global community of educators. Let me show you why as an educator you should make FREEJOO an important part of your teaching and learning practice. A community of teaching practice is important for any educator. On FREEJOO you will be able to access CollabEd, which is like LinkedIn but for educators. Here you will be able to connect and network with other educators from all around the world. You can build your own community of teaching practice or join one of the many other existing groups and learn and share ideas, lesson plans, etc. with each other. Then, for a more formalized approach to professional development, you can go to SkillEd, which is like Netflix for educators. Here, you will be able to access a wide range of courses designed by global experts that will help you to learn about new pedagogical, technical, and soft skills, all related to 21st century education and the future of work. There are more than 20 courses available for free, and for more advanced level courses, you can upgrade to the Silver membership plan for just $20 per year and get access to all courses designed by Akadasia. The courses are available in English and in several other Asian languages. And what's more, you will receive a free verifiable and tamper-proof digital certificate for each course that you complete. If you have upgraded your membership to the Silver, Gold, or Platinum plans, you also get access to DesignEd, which is like Canva for educators. Here you will find the easiest and fastest way to practice your own instructional design skills and build your own courses. We have pre-integrated several third-party edtech apps like Flipgrid, Canva, Mentimeter, Padlet, H5P, Zoom, etc. right into FREEJOO so you can make your courses engaging and fun for your own learners. As you can see, there is a lot you can do on FREEJOO as an educator. So what are you waiting for? Go to www.freejoo.com and get your very own free lifetime membership today. See you soon on FREEJOO.
Okay. Good day to all of you once again. And for all of our friends in the Akadasia community, all our educators, teachers, administrators, deans, faculty heads, and staff, it's wonderful to see all of you once again here on our regular webinar schedule. Okay, so I'm having some slight technical issues. I hope you're all hearing me fine. But it's I'm very happy and delighted to see all of you. Again, all our friends, 160,000 members from over 35 countries, having all of you here with us every Wednesday. We took a short break from last week because particularly where I'm based in the Philippines, again, for those of you who don't know me, I am Roy Platon, one of the co-founders of Akadasia, which is a Singapore-based mission-driven educational technology business that is here to empower educators everywhere. And we're here to provide you with the training skill sets, the technology expertise, as well as the soft skills and other skills that you will need so that you can become better 21st century educators. And while our company is based in Singapore, I am based in Philippines, Manila, and we had our Holy Week celebrations, religious celebrations and holidays last week. But now we're back, so I hope all of you are, sitting back and relaxing as our regular habit of having these sessions. So please grab your tea and coffee and just listen in and join us for our discussion today. So very delighted to have all of you. Good day, good morning, good evening to everybody. So our topic for this week is very interesting because what we're talking about is learning skills for educators. Okay, so maybe the first thing that comes to mind when you're asking is learning skills for educators. Do I need that as a teacher and educator myself? Is that something that I need? Haven't I earned my degree and all of that, and I'm able to teach my learners enough? So when we talk about learning skills for educators, that's precisely what we're talking about. Is we're exploring teaching and learning in adults for us ourselves, and as we advocate here in Akadasia. And one of the biggest things is to have the lifelong learning mindset. Okay, this, as we're coming out of the pandemic, I hope wherever you are, You're now able to probably conduct some face-to-face classes or even partial face-to-face. You're able to see your students a bit more often, of course, still within health and safety protocols, keeping things safe. But as we're kind of coming back to campuses, we've have to make another adjustment, another change in terms of when before we had to do everything virtually. Now we're trying to come into a blended environment. And as adults, we have to have that lifelong learning mindset so that we can continue to actually, adapt, improve ourselves, and improve our skills so that we can impart the knowledge and education our learners absolutely deserve. Right. So we're going to take a perspective in that, learning is a continuum and it's an ongoing process. And we'll discuss a range of topics directed to probably, direct learning or even facilitated learning. So I'm very excited to talk about how we as educators can also improve our own learning skills. So with that introduction, without further ado, I'd like to introduce some of our speakers today, and we're very lucky to have them. Our first speaker is actually one of the deputy directors for the Department of Educational Development at Singapore Polytechnic. Singapore Polytechnic is one of the biggest polytechnics in Singapore, one of the most prestigious. And our guest speaker has been there for close to 15 years. I had an opportunity to meet him in person before the pandemic. And he often describes his role there as the best job in the poly because he has many opportunities to interact and work with lecturers, educators such as yourselves to raise their capability in teaching and learning. And more importantly, partner with them to innovate their pedagogical practices. So he really specializes in improving their teaching techniques. So we're very lucky to have him. He's worked closely with the SP's teaching and learning mentors to identify key pedagogical areas for innovation and has worked closely with various stakeholders under SP's simulated practice method as part of their pedagogy profession and initiative, as well as creating SP's self-directed learning model. So probably he can talk more about that a little later. Most recently, our speaker has been working with the mentors to identify an approach where they can make use of data to customize learning interventions and better support the student learning experience. He also had a short training and development stint with regional team Shopee and developed a leadership skills for Shopee assistant managers. So even experiences outside of the academe with business. So really great. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker from Singapore Polytechnic, Mr. Mark Nivan Singh. Mark?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. And I really look forward to sharing with you some of my thoughts on the subject and also to really look forward to some of the questions that you might have. And I would really love to share some of my own experiences as well. So thank you for the invite, and I look forward to a good discussion.
Thanks a lot, Mark. I think we saw each other last before the pandemic. So now,
Yes.
maybe now that the restrictions are kind of easing a little bit, maybe who knows, we can see each other again.
Yes, I would have to say that I miss going to the Philippines because I have done some work there with some educators, and the pandemic has actually prevented us from doing that. But hopefully, we get to meet each another soon. And let me buy you a cup of coffee, Roy. I think that would be good that we can catch up and shoot the breeze.
Absolutely. Let's catch up soon.
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic. Okay, so our next speaker, we have another exceptional speaker to join us today. He is actually from the Philippines, and he was the 2021 National Outstanding MTB MLE Tutor for the E-Tulay online program for the Department of Education in the Philippines. Okay, so last year he was the most outstanding. He was also he is now actually presently a nominee for the 2022 Metrobank Outstanding Filipinos. And I just heard from our colleague, and congratulations, that our next speaker actually just got promoted to his kindergarten master teacher 1 level. Okay, so congratulations, sir. He has been teaching in Angeles City since 2013, and he's dedicated to the social and emotional development of each child that he teaches. And he makes it his goal to make sure that each child receives the best care and love that our children deserve. So he's a very good educator for kindergarten. Outside, I guess, a little bit background, he also loves watching children and their behaviors and needs in transforming them into awesome human beings. Okay, I like this. So we're molding the young so that they can be our bright future. And because of these, he was awarded as the Outstanding Teacher in 2020, and consistent awards from 2017 up to the present. So, really happy to have him here and share his experiences. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. RJ Calaguas, or I'll call him Teacher RJ. Teacher RJ, welcome.
Yes, yes, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Here in the Philippines, we say magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. And in our native language, Kapampangan, we say mayap agat panapon po. It's nice to be part of our today's session this afternoon. And thank you very much for inviting me today's activity. I'm very excited to share my experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, Teacher RJ. Maayong apang hapon, I guess. I hope my Kapampangan is a little bit rusty. I only know a little bit of Filipino, but thanks for that. Okay, so really exciting to have our two speakers join us today. Okay, so again, our topic for this afternoon or today is about learning skills for educators. Okay, so we have a few guide questions, just to kind of get the ball rolling, and we have some sort of discussion about this topic and learn from each other. All of those in the audience, please sit back with your coffee or tea and relax. And then a little later, we'll be showing you a Mentimeter link, a web link that we displayed. And then you can ask your questions by posting it to that link. And then later, towards the end of the session, maybe in about an hour's time, we'll have a question and answer portion. And then we can ask your questions later. And I guess at the top of the program, for those of you who are also interested in getting your e-certificates, I'm sure a lot of you are very interested in getting that. Accompanying this session we have today is also an online course on our platform, Akadasia FREEJOO. So you can enroll there to get your e-certificate. Okay, so but first, we'll have our discussion for today. All right, so Mark and Teacher RJ.
Yep.
So as we know on this topic, it's quite broad, okay, when we talk about learning skills for educators. And when we talk about that, they use it, let's say, when they're applying sometimes as the teachers are growing in their careers and starting out. Okay, so sometimes you have to have a college degree, you have some work experience working at a school or in a campus with kids or with learners, and also working with various diverse teams, right? You're not just working with your learners, but also your co-workers and of course your immediate reporting officers and bosses. And as such, we as teachers should also have a need for also our own professional development, because it's quite different when we start out early in our teaching a career as we move forward. And as you both are very experienced educators, it's called kind of improving those skills as we go along the way in terms of a subject matter in order to become a more effective educator. So with the rapid changes, okay, so much changes happening today, it not only affects our students, but even the way teachers teach as well. As modern teachers, we also have to be competent in these new skills. So in terms of these learning skills, anyone can start, all right? So the first question we have is, what are the 21st century learning and professional development skills that you think educators really need today?
Okay, so maybe if it's okay, I'll just start. I'll just share some of my own thoughts. Yeah.
Sure.
So there are two parts to this question, but I want to only focus a lot more on the technical aspects of the teaching and learning skills. There'll be other aspects like the soft skills. I think that is equally important in light of the way we have shifted our teaching and learning online in light of the pandemic. But let's focus on a little bit of how I'm seeing things. And I boiled it down to three very important skills that I think educators or teachers should really start to look at as we come out of this pandemic and we start to go back to what I would call high impact teaching and learning. Okay, so skill number one would be for your own professional development is, how are we using data to inform us about our student learning needs? Okay, so if you use that as the qualifying sentence, then the next question would be is, how do I do that? What tools do I use to collect informative information about my students? Which leads us to skill number two, how you interpret that data to come up with meaningful interventions, both on an online teaching and learning environment as well as a face-to-face teaching and learning environment. And this is where I think teacher RJ would have his thoughts on how you can do that in an online learning environment. But I would think that as we come out of that pandemic, it will be fairly important for us to look at now having the opportunity to be able to personalize and customize learning a lot more. Okay, and if we can do that, then I think we are reaching the holy grail of really making a teaching and learning experience that is unique to the learner. Now, my one final skill set that I think would be important for educators of the future is this. I think because of the pandemic and because we have also shifted a lot of teaching online, there needs to be for us to really prepare ourselves to be able to do assessments away from the way we normally do assessments. In other words, is there a better way for us to figure out how much students are learning rather than say, okay, let's go and do a test? Can we look at different ways in which we can get them to demonstrate their abilities, their skills, and things that they have learned? Okay, so as a quick wrap up, as these are the three skills. One, how would you be using data to inform you about student learning needs? What are some of the tools that you will need to use to be able to surface these needs? Two, how would you use data to come up with proper interventions? And number three, okay, what could be some of alternatives in the way we try and assess knowledge and skills of our students?
Thanks a lot, Mark. That's really a nice outline or framework that can, because of these three aspects, these are, certain skills that us as educators need to kind of learn
Yep.
how to use and understand. I mean, our students, what kind of data and information we can get about, how
Mhm.
they learn and what they learn. And then for ourselves, how we actually interpret that information.
Yep.
How do we kind of build our intervention if needed based on that data?
Yep.
And of course, the third and the final one is um, uh, we have to relook at assessments and
Mm.
revisit that and see, is this really the kind of assessment that is, achieving any kind of learning outcome we determine? So very nice scaffold there of, things that we have to kind of understand. And as
Mm.
educators, I hope you guys are taking down notes out there, or you will discuss this more, of course, in the online course that you enroll as well. And this is recorded. Please kind of revisit this and try to think about, okay, if I am not very clear on any of these aspects, maybe that's a skill that
Mm.
you have to kind of brush up on and learn more about. Okay, so teacher RJ, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, Sir Roy and Sir Mark, I can say that educators are no longer monopolies of knowledge,
Yep.
right? Um,
Mm,
we can adjust the lens of teaching where the focus of learning is projected to our learners who need to be considered to be our student-centered, where we teachers guide on the side rather than sage of stage.
Mm.
mm,
With this, we educators need to upgrade with the pedagogical features to cater the needs, the interests, also the ability of the 21st century learners, giving them to the skills to be useful in this world and helping them to foster their confidence to practice those skills, especially in fast growing and in changing world where information is readily available to them, where we educators will inspire them on how to make sense, to share, and to use of the information in a smart ways. In the same manner, Sir Roy and Sir Mark, we educators need professional development skills,
Mm.
such as the adaptability. We have we need to develop our confidence, our communication, of course, team player, continuous learner, imaginative. We also need to develop leadership, our innovative or innovation, our commitment, ability to manage online reputation. Ayan, since uh, talamak na yan, we always using the social media, ne? And know when to unplug and the ability to empower. All these skills are imperative to the success, to the purpose why one becomes a teacher, where they are the coaches who holistically determine the growth and development of transform learners. Thus, we educators are both learners and prime movers of our profession or professionalism.
Okay, thanks, Teacher RJ. I like the way you started your comment by saying that we are no longer, as educators, we're not the monopolies of knowledge, right? Because as we know, our learners are able to get knowledge or information from various sources super easily at their fingertips, right? They just have to watch a video, they can click on social media, and they can really find out about anything and everything in the world. But I guess it also gets puts into focus the role of us as teachers. And I like what you mentioned about all the skills that you're talking about that we need, especially managing our online presence and our online persona and reputation. I think that was really key. As you said in our vernacular in Filipino, talamak na yan, which means it's really well known. It is known that, why probably before we were the masters of the four walls of the classroom, right? So if we have our learners here in front of us, they only see us as the source of knowledge and authority, and whatever happens here, this is our domain. But now with blended approach, now you have to be conscious about your online reputation. I like what you mentioned there. And as well as I like the last thing you said is about being able to unplug. Yeah, because you know we still have to remember that we're human beings, right? We're not computers that are always running, 24/7. So being able to know when take time to rest for our own wellness, it's also one of the skills we need to learn. So great insights there, Teacher RJ, for that.
Roy, can I also
Go
just
ahead.
can I just also add on to what Teacher RJ said that caught my attention? I thought when he said about being adaptable and being a very important skill set for educators, uh, I totally agree. And why do I say that? Because I was just having this very quick conversation with one of my students. I was like, "Oh, do you use Facebook?" And then she looked at me like, "Are you mad? I'm the young and hip crowd. I don't use Facebook anymore. Facebook is for my Facebook is for my grandparents." And I'm like, it caught me off guard a little bit. So, what is it that they are using now? So, of course, everybody now knows TikTok. So, TikTok is I mean, at least in Singapore, everyone almost is on TikTok. Everyone is almost on Instagram. So, why do they have Facebook? Is to keep that communication with their grandparents. So I then realized that it's not enough to just learn one tool. You really need to be adaptable to really learn other tools as well. So what Teacher RJ said about that being adaptable, it really resonates with me.
Thanks for that, Mark. Teacher RJ, what can you say about that? In Singapore, they say this is Facebook's already for their grandparents. Do you have any
Grandparents,
comment
yes.
on that, Teacher RJ?
I have Facebook since 2009, yeah? And also I created my TikTok account last year because
There you go.
it's not all about we dancing, singing on TikTok, but we can use the TikTok in getting a lot of information. Dati kasi ang alam ko lang is all about singing o yung lip sync gawa sa TikTok. But uh, I learned a lot different information from the TikTok. So I installed and I'm enjoying using TikTok account.
Wow, that's amazing, Teacher RJ. Kasi ako, for myself, I am a slow adopter in terms of TikTok. And again, my impression is it's just really for fun and entertainment and singing. But as you're saying, it's interesting that you're actually using it as a learning tool.
Mm.
So that's very interesting. I guess as probably in Philippines, while we're still using Facebook groups, maybe as Mark said, we have to kind of be adaptable and try all these new channels, because that's where all the young learners are going, and eventually that's how we kind of connect with them, right?
Yes, sir. Since I am a kindergarten teacher, I'm always uploading my storytelling to my Facebook account so that my learners can easily watch the video presentation that I prepared.
But do you also use TikTok? So if you upload your video on Facebook, do you also upload on TikTok? The same thing.
Uh, no, sir. I'm uploading also my video presentation on my YouTube account,
Okay,
both
okay.
Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, so and I guess it just goes to show, as educators, we can, I guess, choose whatever channels we think are most
Yep.
appropriate to kind of connect with our learners. Okay, thanks for that, Teacher RJ. The next question we have is, in terms of supporting our teachers, right? Because as we said, we have to be always aware and become abreast of all the new technologies. And who knows, this young learners, as they get come into the school, into the batch, they might be using something else. We don't know if probably TikTok will be the Facebook of
Yep.
5 years from now, right? So, but in terms of, let's say, the teachers, as we're kind of adapting and moving along with them, how can teachers be supported in terms of allocating time and resources for their own learning and professional development? You mentioned so many skills, so many things that we have to kind of, and the framework that was mentioned. So, how do we support teachers with the resources and time to actually professionalize themselves as well?
Mm. Yeah, well, I think that's a very very good question. And I think we do have institutions, and again I'm going to share a little bit of the Singapore perspective, and then I'll tell you how we get around some of the institutional barriers to entry, and that would be is it would be nice if we all have dedicated time and space for professional developments. But I think everybody knows that being teachers, being educators, we don't have that luxury. We are very busy. Even if you think you have a timetable, somebody will be asking you for something. Somebody will be asking you to help them, sometimes to help a student who might be having some problems with their work. So I began to realize, and I've started to do a little bit of a study on this, and that is, can we look at a lot more in terms of informal professional development as opposed to formal professional development? So formal professional development would be is I need to be at this place at this time to be able to attend a course by somebody who's an expert who will tell me what I need to do in the classroom. I personally think that model is gone. I really think a lot more of professional development needs to be self-driven. In other words, and I think Roy, you did mention this. What is it that you know about what students need? Focus on that area, and then look for the appropriate professional development structures to support you. So an example of this would be is right now. I consider this as actually high value professional development because we are sitting down, we are talking about our experiences and also learning and listening to the audience who might also have a new perspective on this. So it is, I think we are moving away from that formal model and really now looking at informal models and really looking and carving out little spaces where we can do professional development. If I can give you a quick example, and I know this is a bit extreme, but I've seen people do this. So what you can do is we do long commutes sometimes in Singapore. Even though Singapore is a small country, sometimes we need to travel about an hour or hour and a half to get home. That's when actually some teachers that I know go online to do bite-sized courses in their mobile phone
Mm,
instead of just standing around wasting time. They are able to look through short videos, short articles that they can read, and that's where they really start to gain that confidence that you talk about. Okay, this is something new I can look at, or I can even go to YouTube. I think teacher RJ said there are many educators with YouTube channels as well. Look and see what is it that we can do. Now the challenge to that, and I'll just wrap this up with this, the challenge to that is I think the institutions will need to support the teachers and the educators when they do this. How do you
mm,
record the learning? Because it's like, how do you tell someone, oh, I spent an hour on the bus looking through this course? It's something of a mindset shift that is needed. But I think the general point that I'm trying to make here is, as teachers, we need to drive our own professional development. Let's not wait for someone to tell you what to do. Find something that you are interested in and then really try and deepen your knowledge around the area.
Yeah, nice insights there, Mark. Because I'm thinking, aside from the formal, professional development training, I think we're also looking at it more
Mm,
as being delivered in traditional manner where you need a specific space and time,
exactly.
whether that's a weekend or at the end of the semester, where you can only do the training in professional dev,
That's
and
right.
then you go back to your normal school routine. What you're
Mm,
saying, I think, just to highlight your example, is opportunities for micro learning, and
exactly.
whatever pockets of time that you're able to try to either listen to a podcast, watch a quick
Mm,
video, do a short course, so that you're actually, even if it's a
yep.
short time, you're actually able to learn very good tips and interesting skills.
Yep.
And for, I guess, hopefully we have some administrators in the audience that can see the value in giving this flexibility to
Mm-hmm.
our teaching staff to actually be able to do these things and credit them as part of their HR requirements.
Yep.
And just on that point, Acadasia's training programs are actually designed in the same way,
Mm-hmm.
where asynchronously teachers can develop themselves online at their own pace and time, get their certs, and if the administrator sees the value in that, then that can be credited as part of their training. Great insights there, Mark.
Yep.
RJ, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yes, Sir Roy and Sir Mark. And I guess, and to our dear viewers, you are familiar as Superman once said, that I am strong but human, right? Teachers are not merely superheroes with flying capes capable to do everything they provide to our learners. We, however, need a stopover where we are reminded that we are not alone, but we need support from the institution. In our department, the Department of Education, we are lucky to our department because they provide everything for us teachers. They provide free webinars, seminars, and trainings to support us. But how this can be possible is by managing the calendar of our activities where we teachers can prepare for ourselves to grow professionally, especially in the end of the school year. Let us participate in a pool of scholars who share excellent expertise both in substance and strategy in teaching. Then we can also participate. We have free seminars and trainings for teachers. Let us create a support system where the resources are utilized, not just merely a display of credentials, but a reel of play of potential where outputs are implemented, relevant and timely to our learners and to our schools. That I will connect the Facebook in on Facebook. There are a lot of groups of teachers that we can share our best practices, our available resources that we can download free. And also, we can also immerse. We can also immerse into speakership where the influence of the expertise will be beneficial to other teachers, shed by the light of inspiration, and let us also rekindle uh, by the spirit of professionalism. Uh, Parang ano lang yan, scheduling our priorities and prioritizing our schedules are resources of every teachers to discern more and act more for their development and for the learning growth of our students. We are doing this for our main clienteles, which are our learners.
Okay, thanks a lot, Teacher RJ, for that. That's interesting. before I comment on it, I just want to, shout out our friends in the audience. We're receiving a lot of chat messages. Thank you for actively chatting and participating. So our friends from the Philippines, from all over Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, magandang hapon, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Hello, and glad to have you. We also have a friend from Pakistan. Hello, ma'am. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast and the session. And as RJ was saying, right? We we kind of have to carve out a schedule or a space and time where we can actually try to also find ways to enrich ourselves and learn something new about our practice, right? So here, which is why every Wednesday, Akadasia family and community, we're always here together to talk about these topics, making this time for all of you, and thank you for joining us. Also, as the Department of Education Philippines is providing a lot of training, also in Akadasia, we provide free trainings as well as paid trainings. So up to you, and at very reasonable cost, super affordable. Not even 4 Starbucks coffees per year. You can already have the entire suite of professional dev that you can take at any time that you wish, at your convenience. And we can use these webinars when we meet every Wednesday to have discussions about these topics. So all of these are really ways for us to find that micro learning and find time to actually improve ourselves. But I also want to highlight what RJ said about, hopefully our administrators also recognize this, right? That there's value in allowing the flexibility for our teachers to actually upskill and actually develop their own skill sets, because it's for the benefit of our learners, and they're ultimately those who will benefit from us, from this. Okay, moving on. Let me just do a quick time check. Okay, we still have some time. Um, there are sometimes, as we're teachers, okay, so sometimes things move so fast, right? It's like, I know this past 2 years of the pandemic seemed super challenging. It was like taking forever for us to kind of adjust and come back to normal. And while now, there are a lot of other issues in the world, but at least on the education front, as we've seen, I guess we've been able to manage COVID better. We're kind of treating it more as endemic and just part of our daily life as we try to stay healthy and stay cautious. But um, all this change, sometimes it's very challenging for teachers to keep up with the times, right? So with all these changing, and then there's probably older pedagogies or older frameworks. For example, Gagne's 9 events and all of these things that we also teach. But of course, newer frameworks, challenge-based learning, Merrill's learning frameworks, and of course, all these hybrid and new blended approaches. It's like they reformulated the flipped classroom approach, and now it's a more a hybrid style, right? That you use both face to face and digital. So, is this ever-changing landscape, new requirements? How do teachers keep up with all of these skills and competencies that they will need to actually apply these different approaches in this new education format?
Right. Okay. So again, I'll offer three quick ideas. Roy, you did mention, using this platform. I think Acadasia does do that. But I would also like to also draw on what teacher RJ was saying also quite early, really drawing within a network of like-minded educators.
Mm.
And that is, I think, the first thing that any educator should do. So, for example, if I use myself as an example, all my friends are teachers. I think I only have friends who are teachers. And what I do is I always use them as my own community. So if I have an idea, I will
Mm.
always go to them and I was like, hey, guys, I have this idea. What do you think? Tell me what you... And they will tell me and they keep me honest. And that is one of the things that I value a lot. That's number one. Number two, you will be... for me, this is something that I found out quite by accident actually, is really using the social media channel of Twitter. And why is that important? Because if you think about it, and if you know about flip learning, and if you have a certain, let's say, technology or in education or pedagogical approach that you are following, you would realize that actually quite a number of these people who create these frameworks are actually on Twitter. And if you follow them, they really share very good insights and ideas to what could possibly be having, and also for you to catch up in terms of the knowledge and skills that you would need. So some of the people that I follow will be including people like Dylan William, who is very well known for areas like formative assessment. I also follow the cognitive scientist Daniel Willingham because he wrote the book "Why Do Students Not Like School," which I thought was actually a very interesting book. Why do students really don't? Why do some students hate coming to school? And also to learn from the different experts, because right now they are not just writing a book, but you are really given an insight to their thinking at that particular spot in time, which honestly way more important and valuable than if you wait for the book. So I would
Mm.
suggest that you compile a list of people who you really admire in the area of teaching and learning. Go to Twitter and see if they have an account, and then follow them. Okay, so it is actually very interesting that you get these live updates. Now, the third thing that I would recommend, and that is, and if I can share just my own quick example, I've always been interested in making teaching and learning interesting for my students. And I always wanted to try new tools, new ideas. And one of them was, what if my students can take me along with them? So they don't have to wait for me to
Mm.
be there to do their learning. So what could be? So one of the things that I really tried to explore was doing the idea of a podcast. Okay, so dabble with it. Now, what did I know about podcasts? Zero. Nothing. So what did I do? Just went online, went to Google, and I will just summarize with this. Just do it and learn as you go along the way. And I'll share with you a quote that I hold very strongly to. And this is by Richard Branson, okay, who is an entrepreneur who talks a lot about good entrepreneurship skills. But I like one particular line that he said: when offered an opportunity, always say yes and then learn how to do it. And I thought that was brilliant. So don't say no because you are not ready. Say yes and then learn how to do it. So that's a quote that I hold to very dearly. So anything new, this is interesting for me. Let's go online and learn it. Of course, you have your all various channels, social media channels, and so forth. Yep.
That's great, Mark. I mean, yeah, I like the mindset repositioning, right?
Mm,
Meaning, rather than we're super reluctant to, engage in something new,
mm.
even if we don't know everything or haven't tried it, why not?
Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it and go for it. And I like what you said about community.
Mm,
Uh, Same here in the Akadasia family. We're very happy to have everyone here, and you know, finding like-minded educators to kind of
that's right.
discourse and share ideas and to keep each other honest and really say, okay, I'm really having a problem with this. Are there any tips that you can share with me? And then probably you can post and say, oh, this author or this well-known education thought leader has a Twitter account. I'll
Yep.
follow him, and
Yep.
then I can actually follow along in that process and learn from that as well. I'm sure.
Mm,
I think Teacher RJ, you probably have some followers yourself who are following you, right? So,
exactly.
what
Yep.
what kind of insights or thoughts you have here, RJ, about this?
Yes, Sir Roy and Sir Mark. One of the characteristics of teachers, we educators or teachers are flexible, right?
Mm,
Um, Flexibility and adaptability to the ever-changing time are the guiding limelight that we teachers will ever anticipate, where the theories and also the practices in the remnant of history were no longer applicable in the context of the modern time. Now, for example, I also agree to Sir Mark earlier that before we don't know how to produce video lessons, but because of the pandemic, uh,
yep.
because of the pandemic, we equip ourselves in producing the different application, in using the different application because we want to continue the quality education that we need to give to our learners. We educators make sure that the competencies or the learning competencies required to our learners are met and will be useful in the societal markability, and especially in this new setup ne since pumasok ang online or modular distance learning, new setup of teaching were alternative. Ayan. And the online educational exposures are means of transmitting knowledge, skills, and attitude to our learners. We teachers are capable to be resourceful in reaching out our learners and can create possibilities to go on despite the lurking time of the pandemic. We need to do everything just to reach our learners. Sabi nga, virus lang yan, teachers tayo, kayang-kaya natin yan. Also, the online opportunities where the skills of us teachers are with upon the experiences of interactions to the different updates and implementation in the rubric of evaluation, meeting the competencies the teachers catch up. Not just because they have to, but because they need to. Okay, that's why we teachers are flexible. Just like in kindergarten, we need to show new things every day. You need to show another strategy for them to enjoy uh, our teaching or our learning process.
Yeah, I agree completely, RJ. It's like if um, if and I guess you're using some of our Filipino vernacular, and I guess for the benefit of our friends, again in the chat, thanks for being very active. We want to say hi to our friends from Kenya. We have some friends from Thailand, and of course from Vietnam. Hello to you. Welcome and for joining our session today. Teacher RJ was talking about uh, it's the gung ho attitude of teachers in the Philippines. Okay, he was saying virus lang yan, kaya natin yan, which translates to it's a virus. It's something that's there, but we can still do well. We can fight on and move on. So because we're adaptable and resilient human beings. Okay, so that's really a great insight. Um, and as we kind of move towards that, you mentioned RJ like um, we we have to also see, let's say in your own practice for kindergarten. Okay, it's very challenging to keep young learners interested. Okay, because they get so distracted. And I know you're an expert at storytelling as a learning framework. I think that's one of your dissertations or what you did for your PhD. Maybe you can tie that into your experience when to our fourth question here. It says what to do if the teacher feels inadequate or ill-equipped to deliver the instruction given new methods and technologies, right? So let's say if I'm in a rough patch, right? I'm in a rough spot. For example, teacher RJ, have you had that experience when you're trying to use storytelling to entertain or to educate your kindergarten learners?
Yes, storytelling is part of our blocks of time. Blocks of time is this is the schedule or the routine in our kindergarten class. And of course, we kindergarten teacher are initializer of basic literacy and numeracy. As a kindergarten teacher, we do our learning in a non-academic manner. When we say non-academic manner, we introduce new lessons through songs, through play, through dancing, and of course through storytelling. My kindergarten learners are very eager when during storytelling because they they are excited in every page of the book, and then uh, what else? They want to know what will happen next to our story. And going to your question, sir, what if the teacher feel inadequate or ill-equipped to deliver instruction given to new methods? Let's us be honest that not all teachers are equipped in using the technology. We don't need I don't like to underestimate our seasoned teacher, but let's face the fact that they need the help of younger generation uh, in utilizing the different applications. And we are also lucky in our department that uh, we have free webinars and trainings. Also, we can visit. This is also a ano. This is also a parang pina-plug ko na rin my YouTube account because I have different tutorial uh, in using the different applications that we need that the teachers need in producing video lesson, in editing videos that our learners need.
Okay, thanks, Teacher RJ. Absolutely. So, if any one of you in the audience, please follow Teacher RJ on his YouTube channels. Just search for him there. You'll see all his instruction videos. And it's interesting when you use storytelling, singing, and dancing, and other kinds of modes of teaching delivery. Sometimes, some teachers, I know they say Filipinos are pretty good singers, but even among us, we're not all good singers, right? But despite that, you still say yes, and then try to do it, and try to engage and make it interesting for your learners. Same with Mark. He said he didn't learn a thing about podcasting before. He just said, okay, I'll just give it a try and learn along the way. Absolutely. Wouldn't you agree, Mark?
Hmm. It's really just go in and look at it. Uh, and I must say, YouTube is really a very valuable resource. If you really want to learn how-to videos, just go and type YouTube. There's dozens of it. And I think we did say quite early in the session that a lot of information is out there. You just need to take the first step and to go and find it. Yeah, and right now I would say I learned it in, let's say, a day. How to set up an account, how to record a podcast, how to edit it. And then of course along the way there were disasters. I'm not saying that it was so easy. You press the wrong button and suddenly your whole podcast that you recorded went poof gone, and then you couldn't recover it, and then you were desperately pressing back, refresh, and then it's like it's
It's
gone. So
gone.
yeah, it's gone. But I think that's the part of the fun of it. It's really because now it's self-driven. You are particularly interested in a subject, and if you do it, I think that's where you can last. I think the motivation lasts a lot more. Because you are
Mm,
interested in it and you're not forced by anyone to go and learn something that you maybe don't want to learn. So I think a lot more, and it goes back to your earlier question, Roy, that how then do the institutions support this? Is really to really get support the educator teacher to self-drive what the area of interest in.
that's right.
Yep.
And you get for institutions, I guess our administrators and leaders and
Mm,
heads of schools, owners, you know, have a little bit of leeway for our teachers to kind of experiment and
mm,
just try some of these new things, even though they might not get it the first time. It's
mm,
okay. And for our dear teachers, it's okay. You may feel like it's something really that you haven't tried before, but just give it another shot. And you
mm,
as I'm sure, Teacher RJ, you've developed that storytelling skill as you've gone along, and over your 13 to 15 years of practice, you've gotten better and better at selecting the right storytelling methods to to keep your learners engaged, right? So just keep at it, and eventually you'll actually do it. So many resources online, so many excellent experts and experienced educators to follow. Maybe on our platform we can post some of Teacher RJ and Mark's links there, so that you can start the conversation, right? Because it's important that we have a community to support each other and say that, okay, I'm not good at podcasting, I'm not good at storytelling. Here, these are the things I started with, and you can use these as a starter resource to improve your teaching practice, right? I think that's a great way to approach it. For our last guide question, I just want to have enough time for us to discuss a lot of the Q&A. There's some interesting question and answer portions I want to get to. So, and this is partly related to one of them. When we as teachers gain these learning skills, how does that translate to developing these same learning skills to our students? Okay, so we were trying to talk about how we self-improve and upskill as teachers. How does this translate to our learners in this fashion? How translate to our learners?
Okay, so I would think it will go back to the thoughts that we talked about right at the very beginning, and that is to model lifelong learning for our students. When
Mm.
they see you making an effort, and I'll go back to the TikTok idea again. And I take teacher RJ's point. And he's right in saying that actually TikTok is not just about fun and dancing, or challenges. There's a lot of quality educational content, and content creators who focus on education, and create meaningful videos surrounding that. Now, I think once students see you making an effort to really engage them. So I just saw a comment that just flashed up on the screen just now. There's no such thing as boring subjects, but boring teachers. Yeah, and that immediately caught my attention. And I think to some extent that is a very true statement. Uh, and I think that is where we really have to up our game, for one of a better word. Is really to show our students that it is not going to be a boring experience. It's going to be a meaningful experience. It's going to be something that I'm committed to. And how do I do that? Is I'm committed to lifelong learning as well. And if I don't know something at this particular point in time, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to find out. And we have that ability to then take our students along for the ride. And I want to address one more quick point. And I think this was also a question that I think will be asked later, and that is, what are some of the learning skills that can give benefits to students' improvement? As I do a lot more of teaching and learning, and as I get older, I realize that teaching of content, while still very important, the other complementary skill sets that we may not have learned in teacher college or in the way we were training to be teachers is really about, do we make an effort to teach our learners how to learn? And that is
Mm.
an increasingly going to be an important feature, in my opinion. We cannot just automatically assume just because we are there, we are interesting, we are creative, we use edutech tools, we use video, that automatically all students are going to learn.
Mm.
Some of them will have an issue with actually learning how to learn. And that's an area that I think we can help demonstrate through our own learning, how we actually synthesize, how we dissect some of this information and skills, and then transfer it to our students. Because I think that will help them become better learners.
Yeah, I just want to repeat the point you said, because it's
Hmm,
teaching our learners how to learn,
to learn. That's
right?
right.
Because that's, and I just want to make the distinction between the subject matter that we're teaching. So, for
Mm-hmm,
example,
mm-hmm,
we have math teachers, science teachers, language teachers here in the audience. You have your specific subject matters that you have to hit certain learning outcomes that your
yep,
students need to achieve. But when we say how they learn, is how they achieve these learning
correct.
outcomes,
Yep,
and that's of a particular focus, and that is a learning skill that can be imparted when we have those skills ourselves.
that's right. Yep.
Teacher RJ, do you have any comments on this?
Okay, the teacher is the best instructional material for our learners.
Mm.
And we cannot give what we don't have. So in our class, we determine and understood the growth of our learners. And with that, we can assess if um, the impact of our teaching, and let us consider how well you've been the teacher or enable your student to progress. With that, without assessment, you can see that uh, you are effective teacher. And then this can give you a chance to learn what is contributing to our learning and what need to be changed or improved. That's why we have the assessment, we have the test to gauge the knowledge of our learners so that we can improve our teaching learning process so that they will be more understood our lesson. And let us also consider that we need to develop the different learning design, our learning approaches, and assessment design. Also, we have our learning community so that learning will take place to our learners.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we want these learning skills, how they learn to translate to students, we need to be able to assess them. And that goes back to the point of Mark at the top of the program, because, how do we kind of have some data points to measure if the student is actually effectively learning, and then how to recommend an intervention, right? If this method of learning can be different. So, for example, he is not very the student or the learner is not very good at reading. Okay, so maybe a video format might be easier, maybe an audio format might be easier, so that they can actually address the learning. Or maybe they are not good at essay writing, but perhaps maybe then a group presentation, or an oral recitation, or let's say a self video describing their learning, or what they're summarizing the concepts of the subject matter. That might be a way for them to express the output and the assessment better than a written exam. So,
Mhm.
kind of revisiting those little ways of how to elicit a better output and performance from the students in a method that, of course, exercising all as many skills as possible. You can't, in a classroom, you can't have, all students being good at writing and presentation. You might have a mix, but just balancing the assessment so that everyone has an opportunity to showcase their talent where they're good at. Um,
Yes.
all right, so let's go to some of the guide questions here. So the question and answer is very interesting, right? So um, there's one question here, especially maybe I'll start with one for RJ. This one's about specifically kindergarten, right? So do you think, teacher RJ, is online teaching for kindergarten toddlers effective? Okay, is online teaching for kindergarten and toddlers effective?
If the teacher is effective, uh,
Of course.
because we know that online teaching is very difficult for our young learners. But since we are here already in online teaching, we need to do everything uh, to make learning fun, and we need to think different strategies, techniques, so that we can catch the attentions of our learners. But of course, um, we want to go back to the face to face because we can assess our learners, their needs, their behavior, as mentioned by Sir Roy. Not all learners are equal. Not all learners are the same. We can also consider the multiple intelligences of by Howard Gardner. We need to assess our learners. But since the question is the online teaching for kindergarten is effective, I will go back to the first statement. If the teacher is effective, if we can what do you call this? We can provide different strategies and techniques for our learners. We know our learners. We can assess them through online. We can interview our parents so that we can know uh, how to how to what do you call this one?
Mhm.
How to manage on how to give them an effective instruction.
Yeah, to encourage also the parents to kind of learn about the study habits and how their kids are doing, even if it's an online environment. One example I always give, and for those of you in our Akadasia community who've heard me speak before, one of my favorite examples is, for example, in the Philippines, there was a siege that happened in Marawi City some years ago, right? And what happened was the campuses at the time, this is pre-pandemic, the classrooms were destroyed, right? And this was not a man-made hurricane disaster or a landslide or a virus. It was a man-made issue, war and rebellion, and that was quelled by the government forces at the time. But what would, as to RJ's point, what would a teacher do if the blackboard is burned and there's a hole in the ceiling? And let's say I'm teaching science. A teacher can adapt. I will bring my students out to the fields and then teach them about photosynthesis and water cycle and evaporation and caterpillars, the butterflies in the real world. And that is just an example of regardless of online teaching tools or face-to-face teaching tools, chalk and talk, textbooks and whatnot, a teacher, you're as a teacher, we can adapt to use the best method at that time point in time, right? And just to keep up with technology, because it's the way to reach as many people safely as possible. That's just another tool, and that's something we have to learn, right? All right, so there are a couple of other topics here. I think this one, I think, is more also appropriate for Mark. So this one is, can you suggest
Mhm.
some diagnostic tools or websites that a certain learning needs?
Yeah.
I think it's a quite a specific question.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just nice that this question was asked because I was looking at this. There is a website that I would recommend you look at.
Mm.
And the website is diagnosticquestions.com
Mm.
slash learn. Okay. So Roy, I don't know if we are able to show it to
Yeah, if we're
our
not able to show it on the cast, we can put
yep,
it in the FREEJOO
yep.
site, and we can
Okay.
share that to the community as well. But yeah,
Brilliant.
we'll take a
Yeah.
diagnostic
Yeah. So
tools. Yeah.
I'm gonna try and see if you can share it with them. And I think what we are looking at is really this website that talks about what are some diagnostic questions that we should ask. What is a characteristic of a good diagnostic question? Now, that is the principle behind really surfacing student needs. And it is important because it will tell you what type of questions that you need to design and what type of questions that you need to ask to surface these needs. Now, the tool that you would use to ask these questions can be anything. It depends on what your interest in or what your institution uses. It could be things like Google. It could be things like Google Forms, I beg your pardon, or it could be things like MS Forms, Microsoft Forms, and these are free tools. But more
Mm.
importantly, right? So I just want to re-emphasize is look at that website and really look at how you craft good diagnostic questions to really understand what is it that your students might be struggling with or what is it that they don't understand so that you can focus a lot more in terms of the interventions. So it goes back to right at the very beginning what I said as a very important skill. Use data to understand what is it that your students are struggling with and then come up with the appropriate interventions. So use this website to design your questions, then use simple tools like Google Forms or MS Teams, sorry, not MS Teams, MS Forms to ask your students these questions, which will tell you what is it that your students are struggling with. Okay, so design and then use the tools to find out.
Fantastic. Maybe just really quickly, RJ, do you have any frameworks or tools that you use as well to kind of check on the learning needs of the of your students in particular? If you have any off the top of your mind.
In kindergarten, we assess our learners individually. We have checklists.
Mm.
If they are under beginner, developing, and consistent, then we
Mm.
teachers develop different strategies on how we teach those children individually because they are
Right.
not all the same. Uh,
Yeah,
that's
you
it.
so you have probably some rubrics, and if they're developing and consistent or still learning, then they kind of have to adjust the lesson plan and however to kind of help them catch up, right? Obviously, you'll have fast and slow
Ye-
learners, and you adapt
Yes.
according to the learner. Cool.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, we are flexible enough for our learners.
Okay, so there are some questions here regarding, I guess educator skill sets. We talked about this. So, for example, we still have to this day, even 2 years into the pandemic, we still have some teachers that still have no skills or knowledge in the use of digital devices. Interestingly enough, so how can that be addressed in order to equip children with 21st century skills, right? I guess as the teacher, you kind of have to be familiar with these TikToks and all these new
Yep.
platforms as well as the devices. But then to teach the children how to use these tools properly, right? So I mean, we have a saying here in Akadasia. It's like, you have multiple roles as a teacher, you're not only a teacher of the subject matter, you're also a counselor because you have to take care of the mental and emotional well-being of your learners, but you're also first line tech support because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of adapt on the new tech. So what's your advice for educators who have never tried any of these things before?
Again, I would say jump right in. And jump right in. I'll be honest. When I first set up my TikTok account, I didn't know what to do. So what I did was I just found the nearest subject, which happened to be my dog, and just
Okay.
recorded the first video. Yeah,
Hmm.
and then from there played around with it. I'm not saying that I'm going to launch my TikTok career and become an influencer. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, I think once again, I strongly feel this way. Once your students see you making an effort,
Hmm.
I sincerely believe that's when they would probably be a lot more open to you. And let's be honest. Will you know everything? No, but sometimes we can be the students. And why do we not allow our students to become our teachers as well? And if they are
Hmm.
better at it, and if they know how to use it, and if they can shoot a high quality TikTok video for you for education, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, why not, right? Yeah, so yeah, they could be my producer and director. I'm more than open to learn from them. And I'll share with you one very quick point and give you an idea of how this works. Just very quickly as a quick story. I was talking to Instagram about my students, and then my students were thinking, they were nodding their heads, and then I was asking them, say, how come I don't get very many likes or don't get very many? So they were nodding their head, and they said, sir, I'll tell you what the problem is, and I'm like, yes, please do, because you post at the wrong time. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Hmm.
I say, if you want to post for maximum likes, you need to post it after dinner. Blew my mind. I never even
After
knew that. And
dinner.
after dinner, because that's when people are most free, they are scrolling, that's when you get the most likes. So now if I post anything on social media, if I want my students to see it, I will only post it after dinner. That's when I'm
That's
sure my students will look at it.
and that's a great tip, I guess, especially
Yeah,
for the information of the audience. Mark teaches tertiary level,
yeah,
a polytechnic university level student. So, for his students, after dinner is the right time to post.
that's right. Yeah.
Teacher RJ, how was your first time doing TikTok? Was it easy or hard? Maybe you can share a little bit of story how you did with it.
Um, but before that, sir, another question is, are they willing to learn to
Mm,
the different changes
Mm.
in our field? Because before, I don't know how to open the StreamYard. Before, I don't know how to
Yes, yes.
produce video lessons. Then since we are flexible, we are teachers, we need to continue the quality education for our learners. We need to learn. Don't be shy to ask our colleagues to help us in using the different accounts, such as the StreamYard, the assistance when in creating account on YouTube, creating account on TikTok. And before, I'm only watching the inspirational videos from TikTok because I'm fan for from that videos, the priests, the different priests, and then I discovered that there are different videos that can be watched as educators. We learn from them. We can watch storytelling, different techniques and strategies in teaching or in handling young children. That's it.
Okay, yeah, and just give it a try and try to have an open mind about it. And I also want to highlight that try to do it. Let's say with a subject matter that you enjoy, not immediately the work, right? Because okay, I have to put my lesson plan on TikTok. How do I do that? Don't start there. Maybe start with something like if Mark likes dogs, or let's say if we have our friend teachers out there who are friends who like, let's say, K drama or K pop bands, maybe you can make a comment video on TikTok about your favorite K pop band, and start it out as a fun exercise first before you start trying to apply pedagogy to the tools. That might be less pressure, I think. It might be easier for you to approach. Do it using it as fun first before the work, right? Okay, just we've run out of time. The time flies by so fast. But I'll just have one more question, I guess, and this is, I guess, for if we can, leave our teachers with some additional encouragement in terms of how to kind of adapt with these new learning skills, right? So, how do we address the question here from our audience? How do we address the problems of teachers who experience psychological stress from numerous reports and paperwork that they have to comply with in the new normal? So I guess this goes to another skill,
Mm,
right? Because even as maybe when we were going to the classroom there and it was more face to face, the administrative side of the work was more manageable in the sense that you have written reports and all of that. But now everything's digital, and this is even experienced in industry and in private sector. They expect your sometimes that all the reports will happen immediately, right? Because they say, oh, you're at home but you have online, you can do it, right? So how do we help our teachers manage this new skill of data collection, reports generation? How do we help them manage the stress levels on this admin work?
okay. There are two thoughts to this. And I'll share mine. I think it's a real need. I won't describe it as a problem because I think this is something that all teachers have to deal with. It's almost like an occupational hazard.
Mm,
Is really, I think, even teacher RJ did talk about this. Is what are your priorities? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do it. It is important. You have to do it. But at the end of the day, I think most teachers or lecturers that I talk to always love the teaching and learning component. When it comes
mm,
to the administrative part, not so much. Okay, so I think it's also about balancing your own mental health needs. And don't get me wrong, it's really prioritizing. If you have to look at it, and then that's it, done for the day. I'm not going to look at it again. So one little simple thing that I do is I only check my email now once a day. I used to be quite aggressive. Every 3 seconds I'm checking. I don't know, it became sort of like obsessive compulsive. You are missing something on something else. But I think I realized that stress became a little bit too much, so I put that aside. Now the other aspect to help you cope with that would be, and I'm going to share this as an idea, is really look and Google the idea of robotic RPA, robotic process automations. Okay, there are
mm.
certain things that, like mundane day-to-day activities, for example copying somebody's name and then compiling reports from your Excel into one formal report, can actually be automated. Okay, it's quite mind-boggling to look at it. I have to be honest, it's something that I've only just begun to look at. But you can actually go online and you can find little scripts that people have written to help teachers and educators automate some of your manual processes. Now, hopefully, that will take away some of your stress, and also then allow you to spend more time to focus on your teaching and learning components, but also to meet your obligations in terms of reports. So I'll say it again, robotic process automation. Just do a quick Google, look around it. There'll be people who offer little scripts, little robots, so to speak, that you can take and use for free to help automate some of your processes.
Excellent. Yeah, so I think the practical tips are super helpful, Mark. Check
Yep.
email maybe once or twice a day, not all the
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Posting on social media after dinner.
Yep.
Okay, and then some of these robotic tools to kind of just help automate the scripts, and it will kind of lessen the admin work, right? And just find a routine. Some points in time you won't be able to do everything, but some of the admin work,
Yep.
specific time, and they just get it out of the way, get it done.
Yep.
RJ, any thoughts on helping teachers kind of manage the admin stress?
I guess it's all about time management. And of course, don't forget yourself. Talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, and also you can treat yourself, travel, you can watch your favorite movies after your work, you eat your favorite food, and also if you feel that you have a lot of works to do, you can talk to your administrator so he can help you to that matter. And sabi nga, lahat tayo napapagod. Pwedeng magpahinga, pero wag tayong hihinto. Laban lang.
That's right, Teacher RJ. So just to translate what Teacher RJ said, we all get tired, but take the rest when you can, and then you can fight on after that. All right. So just continue after that. So great advice. Maybe we can wrap up the session with some final thoughts, gentlemen. With this topic about learning skills for educators, we shared a lot of cool insights, some really simple tips for everyone to follow. I hope that the audience found it super helpful and insightful. Your final thoughts on this topic on learning skills for
Mm.
us as educators.
I would just say, really, if you have always wanted to try something different, because you think it will help your students, just go ahead and do it. Trust your instinct, and you'll be fine. And learn along the way.
Fantastic, Mark. RJ?
Yes, thank you very much. Very short. Let's give it a try.
Yes, short and sweet. I love it. Okay. So thank you very much, Mark, RJ. It may be a little after this. We'll stay behind just for some debriefing after this. Again, I'd like to thank all our audiences. So don't forget, I'm going to share my screen right now. You might be asking, okay, these are great insights, great talk, but then how do I get my certificate? Okay, let me just demonstrate that really quickly right now so that you can have access to the additional resources on this webinar. So for you to be able to join and access the certificate for this session, so just go to freejoo.com. So this is our online platform for all the educators in our community. Thank you for joining us. If you have not created an account yet, make sure to create an account. Make sure to choose the teacher profession if you're a teacher, or you can be a student, even if our students are here as well. And then when you come here to the community, we'll have here the news feed. This is Collab Ed, which is our collaboration. Our team will be posting here, let's say, some of Mark's insights, let's say the diagnostic questions. We'll post here also comments on or links to RJ's YouTube channel so that you can actually access it. We'll post this here also. And you can ask your questions here, okay? How do I become a better teacher? How do I manage my classroom and my admin work? Please feel free to access here. We share a lot of posts about the topic, as well as welcome all our teachers here every webinar Wednesday. And then when you go to Skill Ed, which is where all our courses can be found, just scroll down. And one of the courses we have that's associated with this webinar is Adult Learning Mental Skills. Okay, so when you see the Adult Learning Mental Skills course here, just click on it and then it will open and you'll see the course materials here. Okay, there's a welcome video as well for this topic. Just enroll here. I believe this is still a free course, so just enroll. After enroll, go through all the materials here. Very short course, very easy, less than 4 hours to 8 hours to finish. And then at the end of the entire lesson, you will get a digital certificate emailed to you directly. And this special e-certificate is already authenticated on the blockchain. Okay, so you will earn your FREEJOO Akadasia badge. You'll become a certified member of the community, and you'll have a blockchain certificate for completing this course, Adult Learning Developing Mental Skills, associated with our webinar today. Okay, so very easy. Just go through this so that you can get your e-certificate by joining the freejoo.com community online and enroll in the mental skills course. Okay, so on behalf of Mark and RJ, thank you so much, everybody. Maraming salamat, daghang salamat. Kabungkap for our friends in Vietnam. Terima kasih for our friends in Indonesia. Our friends in Kenya, Thailand, everywhere else. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day ahead. See you again next week. Next week, we'll have cultivating entrepreneurship skills. So make sure to register. We put up the links in the chat as well as online. So here, again, part of the preparation for the future of work. How do we prepare our learners with these entrepreneurial skills? You don't have to be a business person. All people have to learn how to problem solve. So attend that webinar next week. Okay, Mark, RJ, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
our Akadasia family, see you on FREEJOO. See you on our platform. See you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I am Jenny and welcome to FREEJOO, the global community of educators. Let me show you why as an educator you should make FREEJOO an important part of your teaching and learning practice. A community of teaching practice is important for any educator. On FREEJOO you will be able to access CollabEd, which is like LinkedIn but for educators. Here you will be able to connect and network with other educators from all around the world. You can build your own community of teaching practice or join one of the many other existing groups and learn and share ideas, lesson plans, etc. with each other. Then, for a more formalized approach to professional development, you can go to SkillEd, which is like Netflix for educators. Here, you will be able to access a wide range of courses designed by global experts that will help you to learn about new pedagogical, technical, and soft skills, all related to 21st century education and the future of work. There are more than 20 courses available for free, and for more advanced level courses, you can upgrade to the Silver membership plan for just $20 per year and get access to all courses designed by Akadasia. The courses are available in English and in several other Asian languages. And what's more, you will receive a free verifiable and tamper-proof digital certificate for each course that you complete. If you have upgraded your membership to the Silver, Gold, or Platinum plans, you also get access to DesignEd, which is like Canva for educators. Here you will find the easiest and fastest way to practice your own instructional design skills and build your own courses. We have pre-integrated several third-party edtech apps like Flipgrid, Canva, Mentimeter, Padlet, H5P, Zoom, etc. right into FREEJOO so you can make your courses engaging and fun for your own learners. As you can see, there is a lot you can do on FREEJOO as an educator. So what are you waiting for? Go to www.freejoo.com and get your very own free lifetime membership today. See you soon on FREEJOO.